Welcome to another edition of Dan Frequently Asked Questions. In this edition, we'll be addressing healing of a fracture by an open reduction internal fixation, or RF, and return to diving. Keep watching. We had a question from a diver who had suffered an ankle fracture, which was treated by an orthopedic surgeon through planting in a metal strip with screws, which is referred to as an open reduction. In other words, there's surgery to reduce or realign the bones, and fixation, meaning a device or a plate, typically with screws or pins, that keeps the ankle stable. Now, this individual is already 8 weeks after the surgery, had been in a walking splint or moon boot, as they're sometimes called, had now come out of the moon boot and had questions about whether or not it would be safe to return to diving or how long they should wait. Well, let's take it at 3 levels. The first is, has the fracture healed? Now, after 6 to 8 weeks, typically a fracture is stable enough to resume at least modest activities, although some would encourage at least 3 months before returning to full activity. The second is whether or not the ankle itself has resumed proper function, because, of course, finning would require the ankle to be functional. And often, after wearing a moon boot or having some kind of fixation, there is a stiffness of the joint, and that may not only be problematic technically in order to fin, but it may actually predispose the person to injury if they force that fractured area whilst the joint is stiff after it has just healed from its fracture. The last part of the question was whether the plate and screws would result in some sort of additional risk of either injury, decompression illness, or that the pressure would cause a problem. Well, fortunately, I can reassure you that a well-placed typical open reduction internal fixation does not cause problems, because the plate, of course, is incompressible, and the bone and the holes and the screws, all of those are not compressible. So those would not cause problems. And we don't really have strong evidence suggesting that a fracture or an injury in a particular site predisposes that site unduly to decompression illness. There is some literature saying that it might be so, but it is quite uncommon. We would, however, recommend that you should do conservative diving, not only in terms of depth, but also the conditions under which you dive until you have literally found your fins again. I hope that addresses your question, and until next time, safe diving.